There was a time, not so long ago, when Las Vegas made a very specific promise to you. You bring the bankroll for the tables, and in exchange, they would take care of the rest. The rooms were practically free. The drinks flowed on the house, and the food, remember the food? Was abundant and incredibly cheap. It was the unspoken contract of Sin City. Lose a little here, get treated like a king there. But today, walking down the Las Vegas Strip feels fundamentally different. The lights are brighter than ever, the screens are higher definition, but that old deal, it's been quietly shredded. We aren't just talking about inflation or the rising cost of eggs. We are witnessing a systemic shift where paying fine dining prices for a lukewarm burger in a cafeteria setting has become the new normal. The soul of the deal hasn't just dimmed, it's been aggressively monetized out of existence. Today, we dig into the numbers to find out exactly why the math no longer works in your favor. Talk to any longtime visitor, or just read the forums where the locals hang out, and the sentiment is unanimous. There is a sense of betrayal in the air. It's the feeling of walking into a place that used to want your presence, only to realize it now strictly demands your capital. This isn't just about expensive sandwiches. It's about the erasure of the middle-class Vegas that built this town. So, how did we get from the $5.99 prime rib to the $25 burger served in a paper wrapper? It wasn't an accident. It was a strategy. Stick with me as we analyze 7 distinct shifts in the Las Vegas economy that have turned dining from a loss leader into a predatory profit center. We are going to break down the math behind a standard fast food receipt that will shock you. We will expose the psychological tricks hidden in those QR code menus, and we will look at how celebrity chef brands are being used to anchor prices at levels that defy logic. Later on, we'll discuss the long-term damage this is doing to the city's reputation, the trust collapse that executives seem to be ignoring. But first, let's look at the receipt that proves reality has left the building. Part 1. The $60 fast food reality. Let's start with the most basic necessity, a quick lunch. You aren't asking for white tablecloths or a view of the fountains. You just want a burger and fries before you hit the floor. Historically, this was the cheapest part of the Vegas experience. But let's look at the new reality inside the Miracle Mile shops or the food courts of the major resorts. Take a standard chain like Johnny Rockets. It's a staple, a known quantity. You know exactly what you are getting. It's Americana comfort food. But when you look at the menu on the Strip today, the numbers don't seem to match the product. We are seeing single burgers priced between $18 and $22. You want fries with that? Add another $8 to $10. A soda to wash it down? That will be $6. Do the math for a couple looking for a quick bite. 2 burgers, 2 fries, and 2 sodas. Before you even factor in the sales tax or a tip, you are staring at a bill that easily surpasses $60. For context, $60 used to buy you a high-end buffet dinner for 2, complete with prime rib and crab legs. Now, it buys you frozen patties and fountain soda served on a tray. The corporations will tell you this is simply market forces at work. They point to supply chain issues, rising wages, and general inflation. And while those are real factors, they don't explain a 300% markup on potatoes. If you go just a few miles off the Strip to a local neighborhood, those same ingredients cost a fraction of the price. This isn't just inflation, it's a captive market premium. They know you are there, they know you are hungry, and they know you aren't going to call an Uber to save $15 on lunch. The ugly truth is that the definition of value has been rewritten. When you pay fine dining prices for fast food quality, the transaction feels less like a service and more like a wealth transfer. It creates a dissonance in the consumer's mind. You don't mind paying for quality, but paying a premium for mediocrity? That is where the resentment begins to build. Part 2. The Vanishing Affordable Tier. This leads us directly to the second major shift, which is perhaps the most damaging to the average family: the complete erasure of the affordable tier. Veterans of Vegas know that the ecosystem used to be built on 3 distinct pillars: the budget options, the mid-tier, and the luxury experience. You had a choice. If you wanted to save money for the slots, you could grab a $5 foot-long hot dog or a cheap breakfast special. That bottom tier, the under $20 meal, was the safety net that made Vegas accessible to the working class. Today, that safety net has been largely dismantled. Walk the Strip and try to find a sit-down meal for under $20. It is nearly impossible. The floor price, the absolute minimum you can expect to pay just to occupy a seat, has risen to between $25 and $30 per person. Even the food courts, which were once the refuge for the budget-conscious traveler, have aligned their pricing with this new floor. Why did this happen? It's a strategic shift away from the loss leader model. Casinos used to view cheap food as a marketing expense to get you in the door. They were happy to lose $1 on your breakfast because they knew they would make $50 on the casino floor. But modern corporate Vegas is run by accountants who demand that every single square foot of real estate generates its own profit margin. The restaurant can no longer just break even. It must be a profit center in its own right. The result is that the visitor feels backed into a corner. When the cheap option is still expensive, the psychological effect is profound. You feel trapped. There is no release valve for your wallet. Every time you eat, you are being forced to engage with a pricing structure that feels designed to squeeze you. This removal of choice is what changes the vibe from welcoming to hostile. It sends a clear message. If you can't afford the new floor price, perhaps you shouldn't be here at all. Part 3. The QR code trap. Now, let's talk about how they get you to agree to these prices without walking out. Have you noticed that physical menus are becoming an endangered species? You sit down at a casual restaurant, and instead of a menu, you are pointed to a sticky QR code taped to the table. On the surface, we are told this is for our safety, a holdover from the pandemic, or that it's an eco-friendly initiative to save paper. And sure, those are convenient narratives. But from a behavioral economics standpoint, the QR code is a brilliant tool for locking in a sale. Think about the physical mechanics of it. In the old days, you walked up, looked at a menu posted outside, saw the prices were too high, and kept walking. Or the host handed you a menu, you opened it, saw the $22 burger, and could politely hand it back and leave before you got comfortable. The QR code changes the sequence of commitment. By the time you scan that code, you have usually already been seated. The water has been poured, the silverware is unwrapped. You are physically and socially committed to the table. When the PDF finally loads on your phone and you see the sticker shock, the social friction of standing up and walking out is significantly higher. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to make a scene. So, you sigh and you order. It weaponizes your own politeness against you. Furthermore, digital menus are dynamic. They allow operators to implement surge pricing or adjust costs on the fly without printing new materials. It removes the permanence of the price. It turns the menu from a contract into a fluid suggestion, one that can be optimized in real time to extract the maximum amount you are willing to tolerate in that specific moment. It's subtle, it's digital, and it's extremely effective at reducing the walk-away rate. Part 4. The Celebrity Chef Anchor. If you look at the marquee signs up and down the boulevard, you might think Las Vegas has become the culinary capital of the world. Gordon Ramsay, Guy Fieri, Buddy Valastro, their faces are plastered on nearly every corner. And while these restaurants offer a premium experience, their true function in the ecosystem is something much more calculated. They are price anchors. This is a classic negotiation tactic applied to an entire city. Here is how it works. When you see a Gordon Ramsay burger listed at $30, it shocks you at first. But after walking past that sign 3 or 4 times, that number begins to settle in your brain as the standard for a good burger. It normalizes the extreme. Once that $30 anchor is set in your mind, suddenly, the generic pub down the hall charging $24 for a vastly inferior burger doesn't seem outrageous anymore. It just seems slightly cheaper. It allows the mediocre establishments to draft off the prestige of the luxury brands. They can raise their prices without raising their standards because the ceiling has been pushed so high. Defenders will say you are paying for the brand, the expertise, and the celebrity endorsement. And for the flagship restaurants, that may be true. But this effect trickles down to the most basic eateries. We are now seeing celebrity pricing applied to non-celebrity food. The anchor drags the entire ocean floor up with it. You aren't just paying for the name on the door. You are paying a tax on the perception that Vegas is now a luxury destination, even if you are just eating onion rings at a food court. Part 5. Food as aggressive monetization. This brings us to a darker realization about the nature of these costs. There is a fundamental difference between losing money at a blackjack table and losing money at a lunch counter. Gambling is optional. It is a thrill you choose to pay for. Taking is a biological necessity, and that is where the economics start to feel like aggressive monetization. In the past, the casinos understood that if they fed you well and cheaply, you would have more time and money to spend on the gaming floor, which was the high-margin product. But today, the philosophy has inverted. The food itself is treated as a high-margin extraction point. Visitors report a feeling of being under siege. When you realize that a simple bottle of water is $6 and a basic sandwich is $25, the relationship between guest and host changes. It stops feeling like hospitality and starts feeling like aggressive monetization of your basic survival needs. You can choose not to play roulette, but you cannot choose not to eat. This creates a sentiment that is bubbling up in every travel forum and comment section. The feeling that the city is no longer rooting for you to have a good time, but is instead designing systems to empty your pockets at every unavoidable checkpoint. It shifts the psychology from, I am happy to spend money here, to, I need to protect my money from them. And once a customer enters that defensive mindset, the magic of the vacation evaporates. Part 6. The death of wandering. The most tragic casualty of this new pricing structure is the death of the wander. Think back to how you used to explore Las Vegas. You would leave your hotel with no set plan, walk the strip, drift into a random casino, marvel at the architecture, and when you got hungry, you would just find a booth at a coffee shop and relax. It was spontaneous. It was freedom. Today, that behavior is financially dangerous. If you wander into a restaurant without checking the menu online first, you risk falling into a price ambush. To avoid paying $100 for a mediocre lunch, visitors are now forced to meticulously plan every meal. They are glued to their phones, cross-referencing prices, searching for happy hours, and reading recent reviews to see if the prices have hiked again. The spontaneity is gone. The city has forced the guest to become a logistical manager. When you have to audit a restaurant's pricing strategy before you dare to sit down, the spirit of exploration dies. The environment becomes purely transactional. You aren't exploring a wonderland, you are navigating a minefield. This turns the Strip from a place of adventure into a place of anxiety, where the fear of being ripped off overshadows the joy of being there. Part 7. The Trust Collapse. Finally, we arrive at the ultimate cost, one that doesn't appear on any quarterly earnings report, but is far more expensive in the long run. The trust collapse. The issue isn't just that prices are high, it is the lack of transparency. It is the CNF fees, concession and franchise fees, tacked onto bills without warning. It is the hidden service charges for parties of two. It is the feeling that the game is rigged, not just on the casino floor, but at the checkout counter. A tourist might accept losing $500 at the tables because they understand the odds. They know the house has an edge, but they consented to the game. But being forced to pay $60 for a fast food meal they thought would cost $30, that feels like a betrayal. This breach of trust causes significant damage to the brand. We are seeing a new type of conversation online, the one-and-done visitor. People who save up for a dream trip get hit with these predatory costs and vow never to return. They go home and tell their friends, "Don't bother, it's not the same anymore." Vegas runs on repeat business, on the nostalgia of the regulars. By burning that goodwill for short-term quarterly profits, the corporations are trading long-term loyalty for immediate gains. They are trading a lifetime of loyalty for a few extra dollars on a burger today. So, where does this leave us? Is the golden age of Las Vegas gone forever? It is easy to look at these charts and feel pessimistic. But history teaches us that economics, much like the tide, moves in cycles. What we are witnessing right now is the peak of a corporate optimization cycle. The companies in charge are testing the absolute limits of what the market will bear. They are pushing the prices up, dollar by dollar, to see exactly when the customer breaks. But the beauty of the free market is that the customer always has the final vote. We are already seeing the early signs of a correction. Occupancy rates fluctuate, and the value customer is starting to vote with their feet, choosing other destinations or staying off-strip. When enough people refuse to pay $30 for a burger, the price of the burger comes down. It is a slow process, but it is inevitable. The aggressive monetization we see today is unsustainable in the long run, because a city built on hospitality cannot survive without the goodwill of its guests. The power is actually in your hands. By being informed, by choosing where to spend your money, and by refusing to accept the new normal of predatory pricing, you force the market to adjust. Vegas has reinvented itself a dozen times before, from the mob era to the family era to the club era. It will reinvent itself again, but only if the market demands it. Now I want to turn this over to you. I want to hear from the people who have been visiting Vegas for decades. What is your line in the sand? Is it the paid parking, the resort fees, or is it the moment you saw a $25 price tag on a grilled cheese sandwich? Drop a comment below and tell me, are you still planning to visit the Strip, or have these prices finally pushed you away for good? We are trying to build a real picture of what's happening on the ground, and your stories are the most important data we have. If you appreciate this deep dive into the real economics of tourism and want more honest analysis without the corporate fluff, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We will keep following the money wherever it leads. Thanks for watching, and vote with your wallet.